this Boston boy is going to try to talk as quickly as a New Yorker because I only have 2 minutes. So our product is a software solution for big data platforms. We offer 3 primary use cases: data mobility, backup recovery, test data management. Let me take you through those rather quickly. We came about because there continues to be a market problem. There are a lot of vendor point products in the market. They are typically seen as lacking in capability, not being full function. Nobody wants to implement scripting once data volumes become large because it's simply unmanageable. Large data products don't perform at scale when their data volumes are large. And while a lot of products do okay on the backup side, the whole restoring quickly is a challenge. We've addressed that. And use case number 1, we provide the ability to migrate data from source to target, from like-to-like platforms, from physical to virtual, from virtual to physical, on-prem, in the cloud, cloud to cloud. We can help you migrate data in that fashion. These are the platforms we support. Use case number 2, backup recovery. We are a single pane of glass. So we talk to organizations all the time. We were just at a very large bank this morning, and they have a 5-year consolidation effort underway. And they are consolidating databases and associated tools. We are a single pane of glass to manage all the platforms we just indicated on the previous slide. Our product is very fast, backup-wise, is very fast, restore-wise, and with regard to restore, we go down to the table level. In terms of scalability, we have customers with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of nodes. So scalability was built into the product from the very beginning. No scripting, 0 scripting with our solution. And we do support Kerberos, Active Directory, LDAP, role-based access control, as you would expect in an enterprise-capable product. Use case number 3, we give you real-time access to production data. For those of you in large enterprises, it can be hours, it can be days. As you well know, if something goes south and you need a copy of a production database, we make it available in real time. For those of you in financial services and other industries where PII and other sensitive data is critical to protect, we offer masking. We also enable you to take a subset of the data and bring it over. A few of our customers. And I will wrap up by saying, number 1, make sure you grab a giveaway from the front table. Grab a business card if you'd like. We are local. We're in the city all the time. Speak with us if you'd like. John's in the back. George and I are here. If you'd like a copy of the slides, let us know. Free evaluations for the right, for a qualified prospect. And with that, did I do it in 2 minutes?
We'll go with that.
I'm exhausted.
Okay.
Over to George.
All right. So before I do that, let's do the end show. And while I get this up, here we go. Make this so it's full screen. Just checking. All right, so on this is kind of the interface that we have when you first connect up to the system itself. This is set up as a 3-node cluster that we happen to have out there, and we can wind up having it larger than that, and we scale as you go. The scaling piece when we do our sizing is actually focused specifically on what your RTO RPO is, and we can wind up sizing according to that. This main interface that we have when we first popped up, we also have a little button that we have over here called Quick Nav, and this takes you through the different pieces that we wind up having on this. Now, role-based access control, which is already mentioned on that, we also have it set where we have the users. Now, this is where we connect up to your LDAP, Active Directory, Kerberos type environments that we have there to assign those to the specific roles. The roles that's on that is specific activities, such as if you're going to do backups or whatever type of workflows it is that you want to work with. Now, I just wanted to take you specifically into this one because what we call a data repository just happens to be a source or target. Now, as you can see on here, we have quite a few different connectors. Now, these connectors that we're doing on this, we're going through the native APIs that's on that, so we are an agentless environment. So in other words, we can connect up. We don't have to have any agents on any of the nodes that's already out there. And we also use the proper authentication, so we can do encryption for data at rest and encryption for data across the wire. So the information that we're actually capturing is secure in that nature, and we're using your tools for that, such as if you're using SSL or you're using certificate of authority or whatever type of authentication is for the method for that. Every data repository we connect up to can be different types of connections or security pieces, such as connecting up to prod is never the same as connecting up to dev, which is usually open and it's the same password for everything. Anyway, within this, we also have some pieces on here, and we'll just take it real quick, which is we have it for a data backup window, so you can block out certain times. So if you set this up as a self-serve, which you can do through this interface, is to allow certain people to do backups during certain times of the day, and other times not. We also have it for data recovery window, which I have never ever seen used, but it is there. I've never seen when somebody, well, you don't want to recover it today or right now. We also have it for the policy piece on here, and I won't go too deep into it, but as with most things with a policy, you have a retention, you have a backup schedule, along with your priority. Now, the one thing on the backup schedule is we can do the immediate specified times, and we can even do it to a specified frequency, which goes down to 15 minutes. So in other words, if you wanted to back up something every 15 minutes, you could do that. We also have this set up so if you were mirroring data. Now, mirroring data for us, which I'll take you through the workflow, is moving it from a source to a target, but we are in the middle. Now, the reason for that is if somebody deletes something, or you created an application, and that application itself accidentally deleted something, you can restore that down to a table level out the other side and move that across. Let's go through the first piece of the workflow, which I can kind of go through rather quickly. I can do Hadoop, NoSQL, whether it be Cassandra, any of these, if there was somebody that had a selection that they might want to see. What this does is it allows you to connect up to this, and from this you can go through and select whatever type of database you want, or even go down into it and select specific tables. You also have set up for rules where you can use normal expressions. So on here, if I wanted to select a subset, or you have a naming convention for databases, and I wanted an asterisk, let's say DB, but a set of 1 through 5, I can select that type of data on here rather than actually having to go through and actually select everything. So it was set up for that, so you can automate a lot of the processes for this. Plus, you can hand a lot of this stuff off to operations, which operations is the one that you really want to start managing this rather than your DBAs or your application guys that are out there. Now, that doesn't mean they can't do it. You could set it up as self-serve, so if they can do that, or you can have the actual operations team do this piece. Now, with our backup, once we've selected whatever data that we have, we can select specific ones like this, head back to here, and maybe even select here. We also have a nice little calculator that shows what the size is. From there, you apply a policy. Let's say we just wanted to back up on the cloud. If we were sending it to the cloud, it'll actually go through the piece where we want to send it. Say Azure, and then whatever container that might be for that. Now, we also have a nice piece on here real quick for the advanced options, so we can do bandwidth throttling for backups, something that's needed, along with concurrency, so in other words, the number of threads, because the way we've got everything set up in here, it's done in a parallel fashion. We're able to pull the data in through multiple threads at one time because it's going to be distributed as it is anyway. And then email notifications to annoy whoever you want for every backup that kicks off. The more important piece on here is more of the data recovery. So if we went through that same one for production and Hive, we can go through and select, because we've got a catalog that's built into this piece, that we can turn around and do the backup. Let's say we wanted a specific table, hit it for orders, which happens to be one of the tables I'm looking for. I can go through and pick a different copy. So the first backup that was ever done, the last backup, or if you wanted ones in between, we can wind up doing. Because when somebody asks for something that was deleted, it was usually between a time. They never know I deleted it or say I deleted it this time. It was between this time and this time for operations. At least here you can go through and actually do that. Now, once this has been marked for recovery for this, the cool piece with it, I can send it back to its original location, or I can send it to an alternate location. Now with an alternate location on this, I can send it over to, let's say, stage, or I could send it to Hadoop QA. I can keep it or not, and then even add a suffix to it. And what this does is it allows you to do that full restore of it, but it would be restored as the sales database, orders underscore restored, so you know exactly what the data is. You can open it up, verify that is what you're looking for, and then restore it back to its original location. I think the last one on here would be, or a quick one to go through, would be what we call our mirroring. Now, mirroring is where we're taking the data from one source, and we're going to send this over to a alternate location. And those same functions that I showed you before, such as connecting here or going down to even the minute piece of specific tables, we can migrate this information from source to destination. Now, with that, we also have what's known as masking built into the product. With that, you can turn around and say, okay, I've got customer data, that's PII information. You want to take that data from your production and move that over to test dev. 1 minute? Got it. So quickly with that, you can turn around and actually select what type of masking that you would want to do on this. It does it as a single hash. It's one way, it's irreversible. But you can move the data from one location to the other, clean that piece up from that. You also have the option of that is actually specifying the sample size, where you can further reduce as quickly as doing that. Trying to do this with scripting, not exactly an easy task. Let's say selecting this is for what the mirroring access is. So in other words, at 9 a.m. on Saturday, we move the data across. So the QA gets their data when they arrive Monday morning, and they have fresh data to work with from production. It's been cleansed of any PII information. We're good to go. And lastly, I guess I will show on here, we have our main dashboard. We have a lot of other functions on here, but based on time, we just kind of want to bring that down, where we can go through and actually see the types even of data, because this is a single source that allows you to touch HBase, Couchbase, Cassandra, and be able to back up and move things across. One last thing I wanted to say for the migration was I can move the data from Cassandra to Cassandra, but it doesn't have to be the same version, and the architecture doesn't have to be the same. We can reshard the data for you. So it allows a lot of functionality that if you were using, let's say, DataStax, the Op Center doesn't allow you to do, or if you're using Cloudera, it allows you to move with different architecture, but I can even select down to a specific table easily and move things across at different times. On time? Perfect. Questions? Go ahead.
Most of your clients in financial services, is that the industry you're focusing on, or
It's
use cases for?
It's the ones that were the early adopters that turned around and took a lot of the data that they had and started putting into these distributed systems because of the growth of the data that they had. After a while, it kind of gets unsustainable within an RDBMS type of database. By having that expansion on that, that's why within the financial area and insurance that we have been able to excel with this. Did that answer your question? Any other questions? Go ahead.
Conceptually, how do you price it?
It's priced by terabyte, but only one of the unique. So in other words, within Hadoop or Cassandra or whatever, there's 3 replicas. We're only talking about one. So it's of the unique data, not the replicas of that. Go ahead.
From a competitive point of view, who are you displacing? Who are you going up against?
Our biggest competition, scripting. Not exactly a really sustainable type of model, but that is our biggest competition. They have built-in tools into a lot of the big data type pieces, but it's more of a checkbox within any form of RFP or RFI. It's like, can you back up? Yes. Can you restore? Well, we'll talk about that later. Do you have some other question? So it's really, that is more of the piece of it. Go ahead.
Speaking of scripting, can this do scheduling and execution of custom scripts if that's necessary?
We can access that within the scripting piece, or not scripting, but within the job itself. So in other words, if you needed to turn certain things off before you actually kicked off or migrated the data across, you could do that. Any other questions? How are we on time? Perfect. Perfect. All right, thank you.